Our mind is like a cup of water. When you pour oil in it, the oil will stay on top of the surface. But when you actually stir up the water becomes unclear, just like our emotions. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back, triers. I'm so happy and I'm so grateful for every single one of you. But today, let's put all the happiness aside because we're going to talk about how to deal with anger. Every video I talk a little bit about my personal experience and what I have gone through in order for me to be this peaceful version of myself today. First of all, I would like to talk about the fact that I was angry throughout my whole life. For about 20 something years, I was always angry. I grew up as a very angry child. I was angry with life. I was angry with the circumstances I was in. And worst out of all, I was angry at myself. Every time I get angry, it's like a volcano disruption that is about to happen. And I don't know if you all know this, but all of us, we get angry at the person that we love the most because we know that at the end of the day, they will forgive us and they always will come back to us and make it up to us. But you know what? From my experience, it was too late. My anger had caused people to walk out of my life. My anger had ruined relationships. And my anger, which is associated from my ego, had took over control of my life for about 20 something years. I let the accumulation of anger take over control of my life rather than I gain control over my feelings and my emotions. Every time I get angry, I would lash out. I would throw quote unquote tantrum. I would call people names, especially my loved ones. I would call them names. And worst of all, sometimes it would lead to physical altercations. And I wish and I hope that none of you have to go through what I had gone through. Accepting something is really hard for us as human beings is because we let our ego take over. And we don't want to accept the fact that there is something in us that we need to fix or something in us that we need to improve. So the first step of how to cope and how to deal with anger is actually accepting the fact that you have that anger issues. It took me about 3 to 4 years to even accept the fact that I have anger issues. I sought professional help, but majority of the people that I sought help would tell me that, hey, you know what? Maybe this relationship wasn't right for you. Maybe this person wasn't right for you. Maybe you got to find somebody else. But none of them had actually taught me the fact that I got to look deep within myself in order for me to improve myself. Eventually, through the searching and looking of an appropriate and a right match professional help, I was able to learn to cope with my emotions. I was able to learn to identify the fact that I actually have anger issues and that I got to work through this in order for me to be peaceful with my inner self. And what I find that very, very helpful for me is that when I am isolated from people and when I'm in solitude, I'm able to work on myself and understanding where I'm coming from and where are these anger and where are these emotions coming from. A lot of time we suppress our own emotions and what we actually feel by letting anger control over us, by letting anger takes over us. For example, if I were to be the old version of myself and if I were to wait for someone to get ready, I would get angry. I would tell myself that, why am I waiting for this person? What the heck? I'm wasting my time. But through the practice of mindfulness and being able to understand the other person's point of view, now I'm able to adapt to my emotions, accept patience, and learn to go with the flow rather than fighting against it. So meditation has helped me a lot with controlling my emotions and controlling my anger. And also it helps me cope with my anger whenever I get angry. So this is one of my practice. Whenever I get angry or whenever I feel that tense emotion in my throat, I don't know if you all can relate to this, but every time I get angry, I will get that tight tension in my throat and also that warmth and tight feeling on my chest and heart. And what I would do is I would take a really deep breath or multiple deep breaths and I would focus on releasing that tension on my throat and releasing that tension on my chest so that I can feel better, so I can let anger pass through rather than identifying with the anger. Because through mindfulness, we have to accept the fact that we are experiencing this feeling rather than we are identifying with this feeling. Because once you're identifying with the feeling, you're letting the feeling take control over you rather than you have full control of your feelings and emotions. Anger is the result of the suppressions of the actual emotions. We as human beings often suppress our emotions because it is deemed upon. Coming from an Asian American background, we were told from when we were a little child until now, showing emotions is for the weak and men should not show emotions because it associates to weaknesses. And growing up now in my journey of peace, I challenged that idea. Showing emotion is actually a way to manifest your inner self, to be one with yourself rather than showing signs of weaknesses. You are not weak by showing your emotions. By showing your emotions, you're able to communicate with the other person on what you want and what you need so that the other person can accommodate and associate that back to you. So by suppressing our real emotions, we're actually neglecting the fact that we are further and further away from the true version of ourselves, which leads to further suffering. Throughout my practice, it's for about a year and something now, a year and a month now, I have not experienced anger. But if I were to experience anger, I would pause, remove myself from the situation, find my calm by using some of the distraction techniques. For example, I would sit and meditate outside under the sun, under the tree, or I would distract myself by using the tapping technique. So this is one of the techniques I actually learned from my psychologist. So whenever you get angry or anxious, sad, or depressed, you would tap on your heart. You would slightly tap on your heart and focus on the tapping so that you can distract yourself from that anger and then come back and find your peace. Or another practice that I would do is the 5 senses. So I'm looking at my wall right now. The 5 senses, I actually have the 5 senses on my wall. Number 5 is actually name 5 things that you see. So name 5 things that you see around the room. Number 4 is actually name 4 things that you listen to. For example, one of the things could be listening to this video or listening to the water outside, listening to the wind. For number 3 is name 3 things that you can feel. For example, you can feel the textures on your hand, or you can feel the texture on the table, or you can feel the texture on your skin. See how that feels. And number 2 is name 2 things that you can smell. For example, you can smell the aroma of the room. If you have an incense or whatever, you can smell the aroma and the beautiful smell of your room or whatever. I love lavender. So I love the smelling of lavender. So the smelling of lavender actually brings me peace and joy as well. And number 1 is name 1 thing that you taste. So for example, earlier today, I ate, food, lunch, whatever, banana. So I feel that on my tongue. So when using the 5 senses can distract you from feeling the feeling of anger and find your peace. After distracting yourself from that emotion and that intense feeling, then you would come back, find your peace, and identify the root of the anger. Where did that anger come from? Coming back to the earlier example, I was mad at the fact that I had to wait for this person to put on their clothes, etc., etc. In my mind, I just think that I am wasting my time for sitting here and letting this person take control over me. But what I'm actually neglecting is that I'm experiencing impatience, and I will continue to tell myself that it is okay. It's okay to wait. I mean, it's 15, 20 minutes. I can take a nap. I can read a book. I can watch a video. I can spend this time to tap inwards, to go inwards of myself rather than getting angry, rather than, wasting this time and getting angry at the world. There's no need to be angry. Our mind is like a cup of water. When you pour oil in it, the oil will stay on top of the surface. But when you actually stir up the water becomes unclear. Just like our emotions. The more power we give it, the more it is going to take over us. So let the water be clear and let the oil stays by itself. It's like your mind. Just let your mind clear and be peaceful. And don't let any other factors outside affect who you are as a person. And it's okay to experience those. It's okay to experience whatever you're experiencing. But at the end of the day, you're not whatever you're experiencing. You are that true peace version of yourself. So in order for you to be the real version of yourself, all you gotta do is try.